everyone. Good evening. I am so glad to be here with you. Just getting some technical stuff in order here. Sorry about that. I am live on Instagram, which is what I just had to reach over my computer for. My phone is dying, needed to be plugged in. Live on Instagram, YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, and so happy to be here with you. If you don't know me, I partner with executive workaholic women to help them set boundaries, make more money, have more fun, and fall back in love with their careers. And every Tuesday, I go live at 7:05 p.m. Eastern, and I talk about all of those kinds of things. And to make it a little bit more fun for me and for you, I will spin a wheel of chance with topics that I've pre-chosen, but like 30 of them, and whatever comes up is what I'll talk about. So usually I have a good story or two, and just some good intel. If you're here, come and say hi. Come into the chat, either on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, or Instagram, and I will try to catch all comments as they come in. A couple of things of note. One is that tomorrow night, I'm really excited. I am going to be doing a live interactive training for women in leadership called Use the Boxed Cake Mix Method to Get Results. And it is a little bit of a tongue twister to say boxed cake mix method. So I keep saying it really slowly. Otherwise, I stumble over it. But it's going to be a fun way to look at our many responsibilities as women in leadership and talk about how to make things a little bit easier as we go. We'll have a good time. Hope to see you there. If you want to register, there is a link in the introduction for tonight's topic or tonight's live. It's also in a couple of my recent posts, and it's also in the link in my bio. Wherever I have a bio, there's a registration link for that training. So I hope to see you there. We're gonna have a good time. So that's thing one. Thing two is I've also recently launched a group program, which I'm also really excited about. That is specifically for executive women. It's called Fine as a Trap Group Coaching, shocking. But it is for executive women and emerging executive women who are stuck in this fine trap, who are stuck in, I've worked so hard to get into my career and where I am today, and I'm not pleased, right? Like, it's fine. I keep saying it's fine, but it's not actually fine. And over an 9-week period with a break for Thanksgiving week in the US, we are going to talk about how to rediscover what you love about your career and how to actually manage it in a way that feels good for you, and decide if the place you are is the place you want to be, or if you want to move up or over or out. And so that's going to be a whole lot of fun too. There's also a link in my bio for that to set up a strategy call to talk about that. You can DM me if you want to talk about it. But it starts October 4th, Wednesday, October 4th. So all the housekeeping items out of the way now. I have had a very funny day, technologically speaking. I sent out an email for folks to register for the webinar today, and as I was putting the email together, I wanted to use a GIF, and I first pulled a GIF from Amy Schumer, and it was like her on an elliptical machine, sort of falling off the elliptical machine kind of thing, and I didn't end up liking it for the tone of my email, so I switched to a Homer Simpson GIF, which is always a delight. But when I was pasting in the link to register for the webinar tomorrow, I accidentally pasted the Amy Schumer link into one of those links. So a couple of people got a view of a confusing Amy Schumer GIF when they clicked to register for the Zoom meeting. So thank you to my email reader who let me know that that I had done that. I appreciate that. So Jessica, if you're watching, appreciate you. Great. Well, let's get to it. Let's spin the wheel and see what the topic for tonight will be. Here. Maybe. Here we go. Yes. All right. Every week, it seems like it's a little bit harder for me to find it. Here we are. All right. See what our topic is tonight. And if you're with me on Instagram, I will tell you out loud because Instagram does not mesh well with my live. With my lives. So, the 12-hour workday. So that's going to be our topic tonight is the 12-hour workday. And if you don't have a 12-hour workday, I don't want you to go away because you might have a 12-hour workday even if you don't think you have a 12-hour workday. So let's talk about that. What is the 12-hour workday? Sometimes the 12-hour workday is you go to work, you're there for 12 hours, you come home. More often, the 12-hour workday involves a lot more than your workday. And your 12-hour workday can be a 10-hour day, it can be a 15-hour day, it can be a 20-hour day, which doesn't sound possible because there are only 24 hours in a day. But I'm going to tell you how this goes. And it's funny because this is something we're going to be talking about in my group coaching program is like how long our workday actually becomes and how to get on top of that, how to manage that. But so I want you to think for a moment as you're watching this. I want you to think about how many like physical hours you work per day. So let's imagine that it's 9, right? You get in at, 8:30. You leave at 5:30. Is that 9 hours? I think so. I started counting and then I lost count. We don't hire me for math. We hire me for other things. So let's say you have a 9-hour workday. And in the middle of your workday, you are really good at taking a break. You walk or you meditate or you go to lunch to grab lunch or coffee with a friend or coworker. And so you are really good at the half-hour break. So now you've got an 8.5-hour day. Cool. So now you're like, Lauren, why are you asking me to continue to watch this? I don't have a 12-hour day. Super get that, but stay with me. So when you wake up in the morning, when does work enter your mind? When do you start checking your phone? When do you start taking phone calls? When do you start rearranging your calendar? When do you start making the checklist of things that need to be done? So let's say you start work at 8:30 and you have kids or a dog or other factors to get ready. So your brain is distracted by the things you have to do, right? So I go for a walk with my dog. I try to do the Wordle on my walk and the spelling bee on the New York Times app. And so my brain isn't really on work because I'm walking the dog. I'm doing that. Sometimes I'm doing like a little walking meditation, which if you don't like know how to get into meditation and you go for a walk, if you count your steps 1 and then count up, so you're counting 1, then you're counting 1, 2, then you're counting 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way up to 10, and then backwards to 1. It is a really meditative way to walk and keep your mind on something that is not really anything. So just a little side tip there. So anyway, so maybe you're getting your kids ready. Maybe you're a dinner pre-planner. And so you're turning the crock pot on for the day or putting a timer on an Instapot. But maybe you've got some distracted time in the morning. So let's imagine you wake up at 6:30, you get to work or you start work at 8:30. So there's a 2-hour time frame. Maybe an hour of that is spent on the kids or the dog or brushing your teeth or showering or whatever it is. And let's say an hour of that is thinking about work, managing work stuff before work starts. Maybe it's commuting, right? So we're going to add an hour to your 8.5 hours. So now we've got 9.5 hours of work because we're thinking about work, or we're doing little bits and pieces of work, or we're taking a phone call, or rearranging our calendar. So you are working even when you're not like technically at work. Okay. So we've got that. Let's say it's 9.5 hours. The day ends, and let's just imagine that you can't just leave all of your work and not think about it until tomorrow. Because if I know you, and I think I do because I've been an executive woman, I end my day. I used to end my day. Even now, sometimes I still do end my day, and I'm still thinking about work and things I want to follow up on, and mental lists in my head. And if I've had a frustrating, I don't have a boss anymore, but if I've had a frustrating day with my boss, maybe I'm thinking about that conversation, or replaying it, or saying in my head, "Oh, I should have said this," right? And I'm like annoyed with myself that I didn't say this. So whether that's the drive home, or the time you're taking to prepare dinner or prepare for your night, let's say that's another hour that your brain is on work, right? So thinking about work is work. And imagining what could have happened, what will happen tomorrow, that's work. So now we're at 10.5 hours, right? Because we've thought about or dealt with some kind of work before work, and now we've thought about and dealt with some kind of work after work. So we're at 10.5 hours of work. So you break for dinner, and you're having dinner with your spouse or partner, or or kids, and or dog or cat or bird, right? Sometimes parrots can be really good conversationalists. And so you're having dinner, and let's imagine this was a day that was tough, right? And because sometimes there are a lot of tough days in a row. So maybe you spend half of dinner thinking about work, and then the other half of dinner, like being in conversation or reading something or scrolling through Instagram or talking to a friend on the phone. And let's say dinner's an hour. So you're giving yourself another half hour of thinking about work. So now we're at 11 hours. Okay, cool. So now we're at 11 hours, and maybe there's some hours during the evening that you relax, you watch TV, you go to the gym, you have a hobby, you take an online class, you read, you knit, you do puzzles, you go out for a walk, by yourself or with your partner. And so your mind gets off of work a little bit. You decompress a little bit. And then you come home and you get ready for bed, and you get into bed. Now, if you're me, you fall asleep in 14 seconds, which, don't get jealous yet, because I'm going to tell you the next part of this, which is that I am a middle of the night waker-upper. So I can fall asleep anywhere in legitimately 5 minutes or less, unless I'm having a super stressful, high anxiety kind of day and night, in which case there's just no sleep till Brooklyn, as the Beastie Boys say. So, but most nights I can fall asleep like that. And there are some people like me, and there are some people who take a long time to fall asleep, but then they fall asleep and they're asleep for the night. And then there are others who have both. They wake up in the middle of the night and they have a hard time falling asleep. And to those people, I say, I'm sorry that that's your deal. But so let's say you take a long time to fall asleep because you're thinking about work, or you wake up in the middle of the night and you're thinking about work. And let's call that another hour. I think by my count and my math, you're at a 12.5 hour day. Now, if you're thinking about this, and if this is your routine right now because work is really stressful and somehow your career got out of control and all you think about all the time is work, and you don't know how to escape this level of commitment to hard, that is not your fault necessarily, but it has happened, and there you are. You are now in the middle of this is hard, right? Now add to that, if you actually physically take work home with you, or you go back to your computer at night, or you're working on weekends, and your 12 or 12.5 hour days turn into 15-hour days, turn into plus 8 hours on the weekends, turns into work is all consuming. Friends, that's not okay. It's okay for a while, and it's okay if you freaking love what you're doing and you're so excited about it that like you don't want to stop. And that works for like a shortish period of time. It could be a couple of months, it could be a couple of years, but eventually if it continues and you lose that sort of honeymoon period, you're going to get less excited about it and more stressed about it. And so when we talk about this 12-hour day, when we talk about working a 12-hour day, even if you're not actually working a 12-hour day, if you're not enjoying work, if you're not thriving at work, every minute of your day feels hard because you don't really want to be there. You don't really want to be doing what you're doing the way that you're doing it, for the money that you're doing it for, with the manager you have, or with the company you're with, or with the coworkers you have. You just kind of want out. And a 12-hour day becomes a real drag down. And that is not what I want for you. And it's not the way it has to be. There are a lot of toxic workplaces out there. And I don't want to deny that. And I've been in them. And I've been in great workplaces. And I've been in workplaces that I thought were great, that other people thought were toxic, and that I thought were toxic, that other people thought were great. So there's not always a consensus, right? You may look around you and it seems like everybody else is really enjoying their job, but like maybe your boss is a jerk, or maybe your project team like doesn't mesh, or maybe you're just like in a career that you thought you were going to love for the rest of your life and you just don't. And all of that is okay. And also you get to make some choices. And sometimes those choices are that you decide to leave and look for something else, which like super easy, Lauren. Thanks for that advice, right? I know job searching is super hard, especially in this post-pandemic time. It's also possible for a lot of us to find a new position, especially if we're willing to ask for help from the right people. And I've said it before and I'll say it again. Your friends are not always the right people. Your friends and your partner are not always the right people, or your parents, because they want you to be like safe and comfortable and in this like level of stability that maybe is imagined stability, but feels stable. And so their job is to help keep you safe, even when your job is to take a little bit of a risk and find something new. But mentors, advisors, old bosses, former coworkers who are succeeding and are happy, hiring a coach, reading a book, going to a workshop, like those are all really positive ways to start looking at what you might want next. So if you're stuck in this 12-hour kind of day, which could be 8 hours, quite frankly, right? There are some people who don't work that many hours and don't really think about work after hours, but the work that they're doing during work hours is so all-consuming and so stressful and so energy zapping that it's as exhausting as though it were a 12-hour day. So I want to leave you with, you have choices. You get to relook at how things are going, at why your day extends beyond your day, or why the day when you're in it doesn't feel good. And you get to explore what your options are. You get to explore what could be different, what the opportunities are outside of where you are, and how you can take some control over boundaries or relationships or the place you work or the career you have. There's so many bits and pieces that you can take control over. And especially if you're willing to do it in small steps, you can really make sustainable changes to protect yourself, to feel better about how work is, and to start making powerful choices about who you want to be when you grow up. I will leave you with that tonight. If any of this has sparked something for you and you want to have a conversation about it, send me a DM or schedule a strategy call. There's a link in my bio, and there's a link in my on LinkedIn. There's a link in my about section as well. And thanks as always for being here. Always a pleasure to see you and have you in my world. And I will see you next time. Thanks so much. Have a great night.